Hello, everyone. Welcome to the CPL Portfolio Hands-on Workshop. Thank you for watching this recording today. So my name is Safra Najimuddin, and I'll be your co-facilitator for this session. I'm a registered early childhood educator and a professional practice analyst at the college. I'll be joined today by my colleague, Deb Goris, who is also an RECE and a professional practice analyst at the college. So for our session today, on the agenda, we have going over the CPL goals, discussing learning activities and documentation, and then finally we'll end off with sharing some resources that you can use to support you through your CPL journey. Okay, so let's get started. On this slide, you see an outline of the two required components of the CPL Portfolio Cycle. The first one is the reflection and planning tool. So this is designed to support self-assessment and goal setting as part of your professional development. And the next part is your record of professional learning. So this is used to document your learning activities and track your progress throughout the cycle. On this slide, you see a snapshot of what's inside the CPL handbook, the reflection and planning tool, which serves as the starting point of the whole process. This tool is completed at the beginning of each new portfolio cycle and can be updated as needed throughout the process. It follows a three-part structure designed to facilitate self-reflection and a review of the code and standard. It also helps you develop one professional learning goal and identify learning opportunities that will support you in achieving this goal. Okay, so moving on to strategies for developing your goal. So when selecting your CPL goal, start by reflecting on what matters most in your current role or setting. Think about areas of your practice that spark your curiosity or feel important to explore more deeply. Your goal might focus on something you'd like to implement in your work or in an area of knowledge you'd just like to strengthen. Keeping your goal relevant to your context will make the process more meaningful. You can also link your CPL goal to learning you've already engaged in. For example, if your employer has identified professional learning priorities, your CPL goal can connect to those. If you're furthering your education, you may choose to align your goal with your studies. Your goal can take different forms. It may be knowledge-based, practice-based, or even tied to leadership. For instance, a knowledge-based goal could be, I would like to increase my understanding of the theory of loose parts. Similarly, a practice-based goal might be, I'm going to apply my knowledge of the theory of loose parts in my program. Finally, consider sharing your ideas with colleagues or other RECEs in your learning community. Exchanging insights and sharing feedback can help refine your goal and enrich your learning experience. Okay, on this slide, you see some examples that illustrate the different ways goals can be framed. So knowledge building goals, again, focuses on expanding what you already know. For instance, I would like to deepen my understanding of inclusive pedagogies, or I will research current approaches to outdoor learning. And practice-based goals emphasize applying learning directly to your role. For example, I'm going to apply inquiry-based learning in my toddler classroom, or I will use reflective journaling weekly to improve my communication with families. And when we think about leadership goals, those involve supporting the growth of others and contributing to your team or community. These might look like, I will lead professional learning conversations with my team, or I will mentor a student in applying learned strategies. Each of these examples shows that CPL goals can be flexible and tailored to your role, your interests, and your context. Okay, now we're on to our first activity, which is goal sharing. At this point of the recording, you can pause the recording and reflect on what inspired your goal and how does it connect to your current practice, strengths, or areas where you want to grow. So, moving on to examples of CPL activities. These examples are also listed in the CPL handbook. These examples show the wide variety of ways RECEs can engage in learning. Some options include listening to podcasts or watching documentaries related to your professional interests, joining a community of practice to connect with and learn from peers, engaging in collaborative discussions with colleagues to share insights and experiences. And it can also be using reflective journaling to track and analyze your learning journey. These are just a few examples. There are many other ways to engage in professional learning. The important thing is to choose activities that align with your learning interests and support your ongoing growth as an RECE. It's also important to remember that RECEs work in diverse roles and settings, and the CPL process is flexible enough to reflect that. A supply RECE, for example, might focus on strengthening their knowledge of behavior guidance strategies across different settings and choose CPL activities that help them meet that goal. In contrast, a home based provider might decide to explore inclusive approaches for working with multi age groups and select activities that support that specific focus. This flexibility ensures that every RACE, no matter their role, can approach their CPL goal in ways that are meaningful and relevant to their context. Okay, so what do you need to consider when choosing your CPL activities? So, start with Section A. Section A helps you identify your strengths and gaps in your practice. Review the examples of activities. Think about what types of learning have worked well for you. Choose methods that work for you. Explore available resources. And also connect with colleagues. If possible, join or start a small learning circle. Use the timelines column. Plot your milestones on your professional learning plan. Revisit timelines when realities shift. There is no required number of hours or activities. Remember, it's quality over quantity. And choose activities that best support your goal. Evaluate each activity, asking yourself, does it address my identified need? So, moving on to the next component of your CPL process, this is the record of professional learning, which serves as a structured way to document your learning journey. This includes brief descriptions of the activities or experiences you engaged in, along with the dates that they were completed. Documentation that demonstrates your engagement in professional learning, a description of next steps outlining how you plan to continue or apply your learning, and finally, a self reflection piece on what you have learned through the experience or activity. The portfolio is divided into two sections, as I mentioned earlier. Section A is completed throughout the cycle as you participate in learning activities over the year. And then Section B is completed at the end of the cycle as you reflect on your overall learning and its impact on your professional practice. By maintaining this record, you create a clear and organized way to track your progress. Moving on to forms of documentation. So, how you document your CPL activities will depend on the type of learning activity you choose. So, this slide highlights various ways to document your professional learning, such as reflections on your learning experience, agendas or meeting notes from relevant discussions or workshops, copies of documents you contributed to drafting or revising, notes or summaries from a podcast, article, or documentary you engaged with. Be sure to review this slide for creative and flexible documentation ideas that align with your chosen learning activities. The key is to capture evidence of your engagement in a way that is meaningful and relevant to your growth. Now that we've gone over the components of the CPL process, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Deb to go over some examples.
Thanks, Safra. Okay, so like Safra said, we're going to go over some examples now. So in this slide, we have outlined an example of how to connect your CPL learning goal with activities and related forms of documentation. For this example, the goal this RECE would like to work on for their membership year is to enhance their knowledge on Indigenous education to meet the diverse needs of the preschoolers they work with. This member has documented what they chose to do to help them achieve this goal. They have read and took notes on the pause and reflect questions of the practice guideline by the college on diversity and culture. They listened to a Strive podcast, read a scholarly article called Two-Eyed Seeing by Marshall and Bartlett, and they also participated in a webinar from Citywide Training and a free online course offered by the University of BC called Nurturing Childhoods Through Indigenous Ways of Knowing, where they submitted their certificate of completion as proof of their enrollment and participation. So from this example, we can highlight that there are various forms of documentation. The activities directly relate to Indigenous education that are included here, and the appropriate documentation can be of no cost. Okay, so we have some more examples to share here over the next 4 slides. So these are snapshot examples of how a member may complete their CPL portfolio depending on their current employment setting, such as childcare, child and family support programs, working in kindergarten, in children's services, post-secondary, policy-based, and for those who may not currently be employed or who are retired. Because the college only currently has one class of membership, which is a general class, all members are required to complete their CPL program requirements each year, regardless of their employment status, setting, or role, in order to maintain their membership. If you're retired or no longer working directly with children and families, your professional learning goal can focus on an area within the sector that interests you or that you're passionate about, or that you just want to learn more about, instead of focusing your goal on something that's directly related to your employment. Or if you're furthering your education, you may want to address the work you are already doing within your studies, such as scholarly articles you read and written assignments you've done. So for the next couple of slides, we encourage you to pause the recording and review the examples based on your employment setting, perhaps, or just for your own curiosity. Here we're highlighting examples of goals and learning activities for kindergarten settings and those working in children's services. So for example, child welfare. Here we're highlighting post-secondary employment settings, so perhaps for faculty or instructors in ECE diploma programs, and employment setting that may be policy-based, so perhaps working for government or advocacy bodies. Here we're highlighting employment settings for those who may not currently be employed or if you're working outside of the sector, and for those who are retired. So again, feel free to pause the recording on any of those slides to have some time to read through those examples. Okay, so it's time for our next activity. So again, we encourage you to pause the recording here and reflect on what types of professional learning activities interest you or feel most relevant to your goal and role, and reflect on how you will keep track of what you're learning. Okay, so here we're going to address some tips and strategies when completing your portfolio. Perhaps some of these tips were also mentioned, came up in some of your reflections, or they may be new. So, to begin, we suggest reviewing the college's resources posted on the CPL webpage. These include how to create a learning goal, topic ideas, and our fictional examples to review for inspiration only. You may also read and reflect on our practice guidelines and scenarios as activities within your record of professional learning. All questions within the portfolio are open ended, so there is no wrong answer. This is a reflection of your commitment to your ongoing learning. The pink and blue call out boxes are to prompt your thinking of what you may include in that section. If a question does not pertain to you, you may skip it as long as all sections of the portfolio are done. Therefore, not all the prompting questions require a response. Hey, here we're going to outline some ways to maintain your CPL portfolio. So, first, you can either download a PDF or Word document of the handbook, or you may request a hard copy and the college will mail it to your home address free of charge. As mentioned previously, the CPL Portfolio Handbook is the instructional guidebook you will need to support you in completing the required components of the CPL Portfolio Cycle. If you would like to order a handbook to be mailed to you, you can always reach out to us through email at cpl@college-ece.ca. Moving forward, you will complete your CPL. How you complete your CPL portfolio is up to you. You may choose to work off the PDF or Word document version or the hard copy version, whichever you prefer. However, just a note that the college is unable to open Pages files from Apple devices. If you prefer using the text to speech read aloud feature for increased accessibility and ease of use, this option is also available in Microsoft Word. You may fill out the CPL portfolio based on your learning style and can be written in paragraph format or bulleted points. The CPL portfolio is not automatically saved. If the CPL portfolio components have been downloaded from the college's website, then members will need to ensure that they are saved on their computer and or printed. Consider saving a backup of your file to a USB drive or emailing it to yourself as extra precaution. This can help protect against misplaced files, corrupt documents, or computer issues that may make your CPL portfolio difficult to retrieve. The college recommends keeping your portfolio in a safe place and avoid leaving your documents at your workplace to avoid them being misplaced or accidentally thrown away. We recommend including the membership year in the file name for organization purposes in case you are selected for an audit. Your CPL portfolio and supporting documentation must be kept for 2 years in case the college selects you for an audit process. So this chart shows the required steps and recommended monthly timelines for the 1-year CPL portfolio cycle. This is simply suggested to ensure members complete their CPL portfolio prior to their specific renewal date. In the first month or two, we suggest completing the first section of your CPL portfolio, which is your reflection and planning tool. In the next 3 to 10 months, so the good middle chunk of your membership year, you'll be partaking in your learning activities and document your learning activities within your record of professional learning. And then in the final 2 months prior to renewing your membership, this is where you would complete section B of the record of professional learning to reflect on your year, your accomplishments, and challenges you faced. And if you had achieved the learning goal you set out for yourself at the beginning of your membership year. It's important to mention as well that the college provides various means of information regarding the CPL program requirements. So, first, we have a Notice of Continuous Professional Learning Program Requirements, which is a document that outlines the overall CPL program and what is expected of all members. You'll also find information around audits and consequences of noncompliance in that document as well. The college can also assist members with navigating the college's website and your My College account, as well as requesting a deferral if needed. The college also has a variety of resources available to guide you through the completion of your CPL portfolio, both on our website and as well as on our YouTube channel. We do respond to inquiries through phone and email in a timely manner. So, know that is always an option to reach out to us if you do have questions, concerns. Our phone number is there on the screen as well as our email. And lastly, troubleshooting technical issues. This could include, if you require your password to be reset or access to your My College account, know that you can always reach out to us for support with that as well. And that brings us to the end of our recording for today. So thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful to you, and have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.